Now then, recently we went to Waco, Texas for a little RV trip. And we couldn't help but to go to downtown Waco to see the sights. And of course, we had to see the town that the Gaineses built, with the magnolia silos and lots of shopping. Now, don't forget to bring some money with you when you come shopping in downtown Waco.
I'll bet you could during the week. Yeah. Well, this is kind of a holiday week.
I'm just looking at the, I have to take old blue jeans. And then sell them. Of course, Waco is a college town. Started a long time ago, and lots of good things are associated with the Baylor University.
Second and see if my thing is on here. Oh, it is. What's the main street that had that big building? I don't know if it's this one or if it's one more. So maybe I'm kind of thinking it was this one.
Look, they're a little worse. They made lots. Sweets. Calico, right or the right one?
Oh, to the right. Oh,
It's closed. to the
To the
right.
right. Yeah, is this a one more?
No, it's the right.
Well, do we want to go?
Yes. Yes, we do.
One of my favorite things that Chip and Joanna have rebuilt was the Cottonland Castle. It had fallen into disrepair until the Magnolia people rescued it and made it a fantastic tourist stop for the entire nation. Now then, Waco also has some pretty special prehistoric history on hand in the Waco Mammoth site. This place is amazing. Take the tour and be sure to bring the kids. They and you will both be amazed.
Yeah.
Pin oak?
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. It's a big
Apart
oak.
From the,
It's a big tree.
from the park systems. Pretty old. So the last ice age in the environment we're in right now, it's kind of hard to imagine, but the last ice age was the Pleistocene epoch. It started 2.5 million years ago to about 10,000 years ago. And in the last ice age, a lot of people, especially from the Disney movies, you know, they think that all the ice was covered by Earth the entire time and that kind of thing. But actuality, the temperatures varied. They had seasons. During the summer, it would have been about 90 degrees. It was kind of like New England, about 15 degrees on average, less than we have now. So the plants would have been different. We would have had a savanna grassland here, some trees along the river. We have the Bosque and the Brazos. We're in between the two rivers here at this location. This is actually in the floodplain, and was probably why the mammoths were here. Is because we're in a floodplain, we're near a river, and that's what they needed. They were grass eaters, We had Columbian mammoths here, as well as other animals of the last ice age. And the Columbian mammoth was the largest mammal during the last ice age, and perhaps the largest mammal that has ever lived on the earth. And we'll talk more about its size, but we think that the other creatures that were here, short-faced bear, which would have been twice the size of a polar bear. We would have had, there's a giant beaver, a giant ground sloth, a glyptodon, which was kind of a armadillo-looking creature, about the size of a VW beetle car. So, as you can see, the last ice age was called the time of the megafauna. Mega meaning big, fauna meaning animals, you know, everything was huge. And all those creatures, of course, are now extinct. The closest related creature that we have to the Columbian mammoth is the Asian elephant. And some of the conclusions that we draw about their life is drawn from what we know about the Asian elephants. So does anyone have any questions before we go to the next little short stop? Okay.
Oh, sounds good to me.
Those trees are big.
That is the shoulder of the Columbian mammoth, 14 feet. The Columbian mammoth was a couple of feet bigger than the woolly mammoth.
Ooh, wow. That's the shoulder, I mean?
Yes, that's the height of the shoulder.
That's pretty good.
And for Baylor basketball fans, it's two Brittany Greiners. One standing on the other one's shoulders. Yeah. So there you go.
Pretty tall.
They would have weighed 10 tons as adults. So a heavy creature. We think that they would have had to eat 400 to 500 pounds of grass a day. They think that took about 20 hours for them to accumulate enough material. You know, they're totally grass eaters, and we know that from their teeth. You know, so it was an all-day affair eating. The thing that the kids are most interested in, the dung. They think 250 pounds, you know, 300 pounds of dung a day. So that...
I thought it. I wasn't going to say nothing.
Yeah, that would have been interesting
some
too.
of that somewhere.
They would have drank 50 gallons of water. So, you know, the river would have been a nice place. Probably
That's why
what
they're mammoths, because they weigh
here
so damn much.
is the water and the grass. There are two other famous places in the United States that have a major amount of mammoth bones. One is the La Brea Tar Pits in Los Angeles, California, and then a site in North Dakota. And at the North Dakota site, it's a sinkhole, mainly teenage males. What we had here is a nursery herd. We think this is probably the only remains, or we know it's the only remains they've found thus far of a nursery herd. And a nursery herd would have been all the females and none of you guys, because at about age 13, the males go off in bachelor herds. And the bachelor herds, I'm sorry, yes.
Like President.
Yes, and the bachelor herds hung together, intersected with the nursery herd during mating season. They would have had to, we'll call it joust for, you know, the female. They think maybe 30s is when they were successful at mating with the female. And we think they probably only had one calf. And gestation was about 24 months. They would have drunk mother's milk for about 24 months. And they think that the baby weighed 200 pounds.
That's why they're extinct.
Yes, exactly. I know, the moms were like, enough.
Too much work.
Yeah. So we do know that some factors led to their extinction. Of course, as he said, you know, you only have one calf. You know, it's a long time of care. About half a mile. So this would have been kind of an intermittent swale. It was a known swimming hole. this was a dairy in the 60s. And so the kids always thought that they were cow bones and didn't
Oh, so they were sticking them out of the ground.
right, some of them were.
Wow. Washed away.
And one of the guys, Paul, knew that it was not a cow bone. And so dug one of them up and took it to the Strecker Museum. Strecker Museum was at that time on Baylor University campus. It was part of the Sid Richardson building. It was in the basement of Sid Richardson. Sid Rich at that time was the biology building. And talked to a man named David Lentz. David Lentz is still in the area. He's the head of the Redmond Museum now. And he knew right away it was a Columbian mammoth bone.
Well,
But didn't think a lot about it because one bone is, you know, not really a story in a museum. And he told him, this is just a small part of what's there. So they brought volunteers and students out here and decided to begin a dig. They dug with those volunteers, and I was out here in the mid-90s, and at that time it was still just the tent-covered area. And if you can imagine, it was this hot, and so you're just out there, you know, and there were snakes and mosquitoes, and it was just a barrel of fun. But they kind of ran out of steam. And then Calvin Smith came on as the director of the Strecker Museum, and he got re-enthusiastic. Are y'all missing something?
Yeah, she lost her phone.
Oh dear. Oh my, okay. Yes, ma'am. And they got re-enthusiastic and eventually excavated 24 mammoths out of this area. And the way they know it's a nursery herd is they can tell from the hips of the females, you know, what gender they are, and then of course the size for the young. They were essentially in this area, and I told them we need these panels, you know, all along here so people can see what it looked like at that time.
Yeah.
They were in kind of a circle with the older ones on the outside, young on the inside. So what we have here is caliche soils. Caliche soils are very sticky and very slick. So this was 8 to 10 feet deeper. They think the young could not get out and that the adults were surrounding them to try to somehow get them out of there, and they all perished. We would have had flash floods here. It's very hard for Texans to think of what the Brazos would have been like without dams because, you know, in our lifetime and forevermore, it has reservoirs and dams along its course. But, you know, it would have been out of bank, you know, all kinds of times throughout time, and they think that's what happened with these animals. And that has been verified by a geology student. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get inside. This building is designed by architects that did the City of Austin City Hall, and it's specifically for the mammoth remains. The windows don't shine sunlight on the bones, but rather into the building. The angle of the roof is is sort of directing the flow of the rain, which is kind of hard to imagine right now, away from the footprint of the building. We've got French drains to keep, because this is like I tell the little kids it's like a Monopoly house, so it has no floor, you just plop it on top of the remains. So we don't want water, you know, to get in the building. It's got French drains all around. It is somewhat similar, I understand, to the one in the Dakotas. So we have a elevated walkway to walk around the remains. So y'all can go in there and start looking around. Tomorrow I'll go with you, and I'm going to take the cart to the back door, and I'll join you in just a minute.
right.
But we know that they were at the watering area at about the same time, and their demise was at the same time. So she's laying on her left-hand side. You can see now what I was talking about, that the pelvis is different in females and males, and of course that's for birth of the calf. We don't have her back legs. We've got a rib here, ribs. You can really see those dorsal spines that stick up that supported the humped back. And then the best look at the jaw. So we've got the 2 upper teeth and the 2 lower teeth. And here's a great look at that lower jaw, which is so weird looking to me. It just looks...
That's a big tooth.
It is.
They didn't have
It
many
is.
teeth then, evidently. I mean,
We've got the front leg. You know, here you can really see the bones really well. We've got the tusks, but this one's been removed, and this tusk is badly deteriorated. You can see it's kind of layering off. And this tusk, they are trying to look at, because scientists can tell some things about the life of the animal by looking at the inside of the tusks, and kids think of it like the growth rings of a tree. The tusks grow like stacking traffic cones or stacking pointed ice cream cones, and so you'll have information about, every year as you progress down the tusk. And this would have been, the skull, which again is badly deteriorated. But she, like I said, was in her 20s and died at the same time as the bull mammoth. The little tacks here, it's hard to imagine that in the 70s, they didn't have digital media, that kind of thing. So they would string a grid 1 meter square, and that's what some of these little tacks are the remainder of. Like there's one there, there's one there. I don't see the one over here, the two over here. Oh, there's one of them. So there's got to be another one over here somewhere where it's lost. I think it's right
here
there.
Below the sign.
Yeah.
There's one below the sign too.
Oh, okay, yeah, and that's probably another grid. So that's what those are.
So do they have any idea, or would there be another one of those right in that?
In '96, they did ground penetrating radar out here. The building was not here. It was the perfect conditions in which to check. And because the density and things are it's pretty difficult to tell. I know on the Jurassic Park movie it looks almost photographic, but it was really tough to see any other remains. But they do know there are other remains here, because when they put the pedestals on this side at this wall, because this is supported, on piers, they did dig up bones along that wall. So they know, there's other stuff out here. And I've understood that the geology department said they might come back out here. However, now we've got this metal building, and so that's going to make it virtually impossible to see anything inside. It'll have to be all outside.
They can't dig down into this here.
Oh, well, they could. They could, yeah.
Yeah.
Walls and over all the generations would have the Brindian language. So bearing trade, if you can imagine it, kind of and then crossed over, eventually they are today. The things we don't know about the cannibal at the time, we don't know its exterior.
Well, thanks for stopping by. Hope you've seen some good stuff, and we hope that you come back by soon.